Hi, my name is Alexander. In my previous videos, Angular Authentication and Authorization, we created all components and entities required for the user's authentication and authorization. We implemented users' registration and login operations, created access JWT token and refresh token to grant access to resources and maintain long-term sessions without requiring user to log in repeatedly, implemented password hashing. On the client side, we implemented HTTP interceptor to add access and refresh tokens to every HTTP request. Fortunately, ASP.NET Core 8.0 Identity provides a new APIs to simplify login and identity management for client applications. In this video, we will create server-side application where we will implement ASP.NET Core Identity API, which provides user authentication and authorization, user and role management, password hashing, two-factor authentication, token-based authentication, client-based authentication, and more. In the next video, we will create Angular client-side application which will use ASP.NET Core 8.0 Identity API endpoints for users' registration, authentication, and authorization. Let's start. Create a new project. Select a template ASP.NET Core Web API. Project name WebNet Core Identity. Press Create. Because by default ASP.NET Core Identity uses an Entity Framework Core data model, we have to add several packages to our project. ASP.NET Core Identity Entity Framework Core, ASP.NET Core Identity UI, Entity Framework Core SQL Server, Entity Framework Core Tools, and Visual Studio Web Code Generation.Design. When I tried to use the latest packages, version 9.0, I had an error in solution build process. Therefore, we will use previous version 8.0.11 for all packages. ASP.NET Core Identity UI, Entity Framework Core SQL Server, Entity Framework Core Tools. The package Microsoft Visual Studio Web Code Generation.Design has previous version 8.0.7. We will install it. All the packages are installed. Now we have to create DBContext class, which acts as a bridge between the code and the database that will be used to store the identity tables. Create folder database context and class netIdentity DBContext. Here we use netIdentity DBContext class, which uses identity resources through the Identity DBContext interface. The identity database will be created under the SQL Server by using the migration commands. In appsettings.json file, add database name and connection string. Register our class netIdentityDB context in the program.cs class. Get connection string from appsettings.json file. Register our class just before builder.build. Open a package manager console and execute the following Entity Framework Core migration commands. Add migration, update database, check SQL Server. A new netIdentity database and tables are created. In a program.cs file, before the line where the builder built an application, change the builder services add Swagger Gen method. Swagger Gen method adds support for Swagger features. Swagger DOS is used to automatically generate documentation based on the annotation in the source code. Opt add security definition. By specifying the security definition, Swagger will take into account that it will have to add the authorization feature. The feature consists of an authorize button on the top of the page and will set the authorization header. The following code will be added in the add Swagger Gen extension method of the Swagger Gen package. Name refers to the name of the header. In this case, the request includes the authentication header, followed by barrier token, or authorization barrier-generated JWT token. Description is used to help others understand how the authentication works and what value he or she has to enter in the input box. In refers to the location of the API key, which in this case will be in the header. For other authentication types, there might be other options like query or cookie. Type is the security scheme that we will be using. Scheme is RFC7235 hypertransfer protocol that will be used. In this case, we will be using the barrier protocol, but this property also accepts all other protocols that can be found in the appropriate documentation. These 5 parameters are required in order to define how the security key will act. The add security requirement extension method will add an authorization header to each endpoint when the request is sent. These methods take a dictionary of type dictionary as a parameter because the endpoint can have different authentications type, like basic or SAML. The value of the dictionary is required list of scope names for the extension only if the security scheme is auth2 or OpenID Connect. In our case, this list will be empty one. Add identity API endpoints. These methods should be located only after builder services add Swagger Gen, otherwise the identity methods will not appear. This is a new method introduced in the .NET 8, and its function is to configure identity integration in the application. The identity user class passed as a parameter specifies the type of user that will be used. The add identity API endpoints method add controllers and services necessary for authentication and authorization, such as registration, login, logout, profile management, etc. Add identity framework stores method configures the entity framework as a storage mechanism for identity data. The add authorization method adds the authorization service to the collection of services. This is necessary to configure authorization policies which define the rules for allowing or denying access to protected resources. We can add the identity endpoints to our application by calling Map Identity API. This adds a whole variety of endpoints to our application, which we will see shortly. We can scope this to a subpath like account or identity, so that instead of endpoints login and confirm email, we will have identity login and identity confirm email, for example. We can add the prefix using map group, as in this example. Start application. Try to register user and login. Check SQL Server. The user registered in the database. Login. After successful login, in an output we receive access token and refresh token. Let's add the tables which we will use in our project: products table and product type table. A new table is created. Let's fill the tables with the data. We will use scaffolding to generate DB contexts and models from the existing database. Here, server Alexander, it is the name of my SQL server. Database name is net identity. Trusted connection true specifies the Windows authentication. And I have to put your attention that we have to include another parameter, trust server certificate equal true, to avoid an error which is called the certificate chain was issued by an authority that is not trusted. Without this parameter, we will enable to finish this command successfully, so this parameter is important. We indicated the package Microsoft Entity Framework Core SQL Server and output directory models, where the models and DB context classes will be automatically generated. Press Enter. This command automatically creates entity classes for each table in the database and context class under the specified folder. We specified folder name as models. Open Net Identity context. Because to communicate with the tables required for the .NET Core identity, we use entities in the Net Identity DB context. We remove configuration of these entity types from our DB context. For the same reason, we also remove all models for the .NET Core identity. We can remove Swagger controller and class. Created context class explicitly uses connection string with warning about it. We already have a connection string under the app settings.json file. Therefore, we can remove the method of configuring and unnecessary using statements. We have registered net identity context class in the program.cs file. Open program.cs file and add this line. Now we also will use scaffolding to automatically create controller that supports CRUD operations: create, read, update, delete. To create a controller, right-click on the controllers folder and select Add, New Scaffolded Item. Select controller with actions using Entity Framework. Select Model Class Product. And DB Context Class Net Identity Context. Press Add button. It creates product controller class with asynchronous HTTP GET, PUT, POST, and DELETE methods. Start application to check that it works. Try to get the list of products. Yes, it works, and we can get the list of products. Try to get one product. It works. To restrict access only to authorized user, put authorized attribute to all the methods in the product controller class. Start application. Try to get products without authorization. We received an error. Response status is 401. It is unauthorized error. Try to get one product. We received the same unauthorized error, code 401. Earlier, we have registered user with the mail aa@can.com. Login with user's credentials. In response, we receive access token and refresh token. Copy access token. Press Authorize button. Enter access token. Authorize, close. Now the user is authorized. Try to get the list of products. We received the list of products. Try to get one product. We received the product. Try to add new product. We have to fill these products' properties. But to insert a new product, it is enough to indicate only first 4 properties, because product type depends from the product type ID. A new product added to SQL Server database. Check SQL Server. Product added. Update product. The product updated in SQL Server database. Check SQL Server. Product updated. Delete product. Product deleted from SQL Server database. Check SQL Server. Product deleted. We see that all the methods work fine for the authorized users. And for the authorization in this project, we used ASP.NET Core Identity. That's all what I wanted to show you in this video. In the next video, we will create another project which will use .NET Core API Identity to authorize user, receive access and refresh tokens, add these tokens to every HTTP request to be able to perform all CRUD operations with products table, as well as to change access token by user's request. Thank you for watching. If you are enjoying this content and would like to see more and support my channel, please feel free to like this video and hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, have a good day, and bye.